Hi, how are you? Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Hour, where I help entrepreneurs and investors profit more through innovation. And in my ever growing quest to create multiple streams of revenue, I invite you to come along for the ride and we can learn together. And hopefully, one day we can both be financially free. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about a topic that I had a long call today with the group I'm working with from MIT. BCDI, they're called Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative, about what businesses need now, right, in communities of color. And I'm in a new location because it's a pretty hilarious story, but my sons are make a lot of noise in my house, so I really got to figure out another place to do my show. And I'm also going to start doing the show at 3 o'clock instead of 7. So I'm going to do the show in my office, and because my kids are being too loud. And so it was funny because I'm like, look, can you just be quiet for 1 hour? I'm just doing the show for 1 hour. They're like, why? Your show doesn't even make any money. And I'm like, you're not going to college now. So take that. So then I come here to my office, like, all right, I'll do it in a quiet space, 7 o'clock. And there's like a gym outside, like screaming at the top of their lungs, like, yeah. So you might hear that in the background. I don't know yet. I think they just finished their workout. But at 3 o'clock, I hope it's quiet. So we're going to try to start doing it at 3 o'clock. I'm going to start next Monday. But today's meeting I had with the MIT folks and a bunch of groups from the community that are doing work with businesses and young people. What we were talking about is, what do businesses need right now, right? And what that made me think about is really a lot of the businesses that are struggling right now. It's because they really didn't take enough advantage of technology. So what I want to talk about today, and of course get any comments from anybody, any questions from anybody, is what do you need to do to push your business into the future, to make sure when a pandemic like this comes along, you can just keep on going and not have the struggles that a lot of businesses had, right? So the first thing I think about is how everybody went insane about going remote during this time, right? Like people were like, wait a minute, how are we going to run our businesses if we can't be in the same office? And I just thought that was pretty hilarious, because the technology has been here for many, many, many years to not need to be in the same physical location to work. And I think it's actually good now that the whole world has had to do this for 6 months, because I don't think you're gonna see a lot of people going back totally to going into offices like all the time. I just think it's just the old school way of working. I think you get more done. You live a better work-life balance, kind of. Even though a lot of people are saying they're working more now, and I definitely work more, and I really don't like going into any office, even my own. So like I get the hesitance, but once you can figure out a system that works where people can be anywhere and work, that puts you in a much higher advantage as a business, I believe, right? The reason why I was able to do that is because I come from a freelance background. Before I started my business, I was a freelancer. So what I would do is, to certain freelance jobs, they wanted you to be there, right? And then I was able to get to the level where I was good enough and people trusted me enough where I didn't need to be there. So I would take on work from multiple clients and do it from wherever I wanted to. Most of the time, my house. I used to call it no pants freelance, which was I didn't have to even leave my bed. I would literally be in bed all day working on projects, but I was getting my stuff done, so clients were not angry. My stuff was good. Everybody was happy. I was getting paid. And sometimes I would take less money to not go in, because I knew the cost of going in. It was, I would have to pay more for food. I would have to pay for travel. I would have to spend time traveling. So I'd rather take a lesser rate sometimes, to not have to go in, right? So that was one of the ways I started to do it. And then when I created my business, I just moved right into the same environment. But then I did have an office because I thought having a business, you needed to have an office. But it took one of my mentors to really, really teach me that wasn't the case. And what happened was when I first started my business, I was renting 2 desks for $750 in an advertising agency because they were going to give me a bunch of work, and they did. So it made sense. But what happened was once my twins were born, I didn't show up to the office as much, and I still was paying that rent. And I realized I wasn't running my business well enough because when I wasn't there, the business wasn't running as well, right? I needed to physically be in that space. And I couldn't be in that space as much because I just had twins and I was not sleeping at all. So the work started to suffer. And this was like, I had my twins like the first year of my business. So this was towards the end of the first year of my business. The work started to suffer. The client realized the work was suffering. And, they made a decision to start giving us less work because they were like, look, when you're around, the work is amazing. But when you're not, it's not as good. So they started to remove a lot of my work. So for my business, but luckily I started to diversify and not only rely on one client. But what ended up happening was I left that space. When they started to give us less work, I said, why am I going to pay this rent? I can get a smaller space for less. I can get a bigger space for less, not being inside the agency. So I did. I moved to another location downtown, like a co-working space. Because I was used to the co-working environment anyway, because I was in an agency. So it's not like I needed my own office. So when I moved into the co-working space, I again started to figure out, okay, I only have, at that point, I think I had 2 desks again, but I was starting to get more work. I was starting to build it up again. In the other location, I would get a bunch of work, and I was able to bring the people in because they were working on the client, which was there anyway. So if I needed more bodies to come and work with me, I could do it. And at that point, that office was on 25th and Broadway, so it was an amazing location, right across the street from the park. So anybody wanted to come to the office because it was such a nice area. When I moved to the other space downtown, the area was nice as well, but the office was smaller because I only had like a few cubicles in a shared office environment. But what ended up happening was I got really cool with the owner of the space. And he was, by some lucky chance, about to open up another location in the Bronx. So I told him, hey, I'm from the Bronx. I could probably help you with that. And he was like, 100%, let's do it. How can I, you know what? I'll give you space in the new spot in the Bronx for free for a little while so you could help me grow that space. So I said, all right, let's go to the Bronx. So I came back to the Bronx. I put my business in the Bronx. And I had big clients, and I also kept the Manhattan address on my website. So I had the Manhattan address and the Bronx address. So I was getting more and more work. And I remember I got a project with, I think, Nickelodeon and IHOP around the same time. I think it was both projects at the same time. I don't remember the details exact. But, so I had a bunch of work. And in the past, I would have, for that type of work, I wanted people right next to me because this work was like super cutting edge and it was a lot of back and forth. And there was technology that we both needed to have and make sure that worked. So I remember reaching out to freelancers that were going to come work for me. And none of them wanted to come to the Bronx. They all were like, I'll work for you on this project, but I'm only working for you if I can work in the Manhattan office. So at first I was like, you know what? I still have it. Sure. But then it became a pain for me to go to them because I was like, wait a minute, am I creating this business for their benefit or mine? So I said, you know what? If people are not willing to come to the Bronx, then I got to figure something out, right? So I spoke to my mentor, who was the guy who was running the space. And he told me, you know what? This is opportunity for you, actually. You're thinking about this wrong. And I was like, explain, because I don't know what I'm going to do here. I got these big projects. Nobody wants to come like sit next to me like I think needs to happen, because these projects, I'm working on projects that have never been done before. And I need to make sure this thing is going to work, because people pay me a lot of money, and if it doesn't work, I could get sued. So he said, wait a minute, but you're looking at it wrong. If you can figure out how to work with these people and create projects that have never been done before, remote, you open up the opportunity to scale much bigger and do whatever you want with your life. And I was like, true. And I'm sure, I'm a tech guy. I'm like always on the cutting edge of whatever technology is available. I'm sure I could figure out how to do it. So I did. I figured out, and we got the projects done with there were a few people in the office, but they weren't the tech people. It was like the project managers and like account people. So I said, all right. To me, the harder one to do remote was the tech people. The account people and project managers were way easier to do remote, I felt. And they were. I ended up doing that. So after that experience, I had 4 desks at the Bronx location. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't even need that. And, the guy was like, hey, you don't have to pay for all 4. You might as well go down in amount that you're spending. Because at that point, I started paying rent. So you hear the background noise. We're going to see how this location works out. So I basically figured out how to run it from anywhere. Very little. I didn't even need, and a lot of times I wasn't even going to my own office. So I learned how to do the whole remote thing, the video chats, the Slack. Back then it wasn't Slack. It was like a messenger, like maybe Skype or something like that. I don't even remember. I even found out how to draw in new traffic. Draw in new talent, how to test them, how to get them going on my system. And that's one of the major ways of making sure your company is ready for this new world. Can you operate without having an office, right? So to me, that's step number 1, right? Depends on the industry, of course. If you have a restaurant, but I had an interesting conversation today, actually, because I was looking at a space, and they had a restaurant inside of it. And the restaurant was struggling, right, because of what's going on right now. And what I said was, the future is cloud kitchens. And somebody asked me, what's a cloud kitchen? And I said, well, cloud kitchen right now is what is happening, right? When you order food, that restaurant is only open to make your food and deliver it to you. They have all that space for seating, and they can't even use it. So they're paying for all this extra square footage that they can't even use, right? So at the end of the day, that is a waste of money. Again, right? You're wasting money on space you don't really need. So what a cloud kitchen does is it's a kitchen that's shared by multiple restaurants. What do? When an order comes in, they make the food, but they're sharing the cost of that kitchen, which in the past, you had to own that kitchen, spend all that money, have that space to where people can dine. So it's an opportunity for food businesses and food innovation, right? So that's how you have to think. If you think about your business, whatever business it is, and if anybody's watching has a business right now and they're not sure how to make sure their businesses are at the cutting edge of what technology is possible right now, definitely put any question in the comments and I'll answer. Or if you're watching on replay, put them in the comments there too. So I know my company's a tech company, so it's easier because a lot of my people can be remote. But I believe any business can do this. I just have to think about it, right? So to me, when we were looking at the restaurant, because it's part of a space that an organization I'm a part of may rent or buy, I said this is opportunity. it's not like, at first I was like, wait a minute, but is this restaurant going to be able to pay rent? Because right now it's a little bit of a tough time for restaurants. But then I said, if they can't pay rent, then we could just make it a cloud kitchen. And then we can innovate through food companies. So even me, sometimes I get caught in that thinking, that old school thinking, right? So when you think about what do you need to have, first thing, you have to be able to work remote. As you see right now what happened with the pandemic, this is one thing that it may not be a necessity. It may not have been a necessity before, but now it is. You have to be able to say, can this business operate if we can't all go to the same place, right? And be in the same environment. COVID was a once in 100-year thing, but if you can still work the same way my mentor told me, if you can still work in an environment where you don't need to be in the same place, that's a huge leg up. Second thing I would say is paying employees and contractors without having to see them. And of course, in the past, you would think, oh yeah, you could just mail a check. What was happening right now? The mail system was all messed up too because of all this, right? And other reasons, but the mail. So there's still companies right now that don't do digital payments. It's way easier. And it's like little things like that are indications that you're not taking technology serious enough, because right now, I literally had a project multiple projects actually, where they had to mail me a check. And I remember thinking, wow, the fact that, a company of that size still is mailing checks, even in COVID, means that they can't switch their internal system fast enough to take advantage of what's going on to make their workload more efficient. So I would say there's a bunch of programs. There's a bunch of things like QuickBooks. I use Bill.com that you can pay someone, it goes directly into their bank account. Of course, once you're dealing with international, there's a whole bunch of things that I have to deal with, because sometimes I have somebody working in another country and I can't do bank to bank as easy as if they're in America. But depending on what type of business you are, if you're working with local people, Bill.com is super easy. And there's other things like it. If you want to search around ways to pay your employees and vendors without needing a check, very easy, bank to bank. Because after communication and working, the next most important thing is how people get paid. Because if they're communicating but they're not being paid, they're going to stop communicating, right? So first step, make sure you can communicate and work. Second step, make sure people can get paid, right? Fast. So the third thing I would say is your business in general. Like whatever type of business you have, the customer you serve. So think about it. One thing I had with those companies that I'm involved in that have retail, right? Retail stores. And I always told them before the pandemic, each one of them, I told them, look, your store is secondary. Your online is first. You need to spend more time on your online than your physical retail store, because your physical retail store can only fit a certain amount of people. I don't care how much square footage you have. Your online, literally 1 million people per second can come to your website and buy. So you need to focus on that and make sure it's the most perfect thing ever, because you'll make more money online than you will in your physical store. Some listened, some didn't. The ones that didn't struggled because when people can't even go outside, let alone go to a store, that's a problem. But then there is the overall, like, are people going to buy whatever it is you sell in a pandemic when they can't even go outside and they're worried about X, Y, and Z? So that's another core thing, right? To think about, is this business future proof? Like, okay, I'm selling this. Is this something that people are going to buy for a long period of time? Or is there times where what I sell, people are just not going to buy? And then you as an entrepreneur have to think, okay, is this the only thing I'm going to do? Because what happens in times like that, right? So that's what I do. That's why I do so many different things, multiple revenue streams, because I learned a long time ago that businesses have high times and low times. And you could see it over and over every year. There's lulls and there's highs, right? So in the lulls, you could be doing other stuff. If you're gonna be banging your head against a wall to get more work when there's just not gonna be more work, because that time period is just a dead period for that industry. So you have to really think, okay, after you just saw what you saw, this 6 month, it's been a curse and a blessing in a way, right? Because you get to see the future, possible future. Not to say COVID is going to be a thing always, but people are gonna go places less than they did before for a little while at least, right? Even right now, you can hear New York is back. Like I hear people outside in a gym screaming their lungs off. Doesn't even sound like they have masks on, right? But still gonna have some time where people are a little bit worried about going out. Restaurants, you still can't dine indoors, I don't think, right? So you have to think about your business and say, okay, what did I learn? What companies did make a big profit during this pandemic? Amazon, Netflix, YouTube, things where people being lazy normally would still make money no matter what. And no matter what situation, they're going to do it because I want to say lazy. It's more convenient. They'll pay for the convenience, right? So but think about that, right? Like Uber was one of those things where you pay for the convenience, but even Uber took it on the chin. Airbnb, which is something I've been involved in. I've managed Airbnbs, and I thought people will always go on vacation. I didn't think a COVID would happen and administrations would just not take it serious, So that's where even me, right? Even right now, I'm building another Airbnb business, and I'm like, okay, where should I do this where even if there's another pandemic, I know even the local people will still rent it, right? So because if there's no flights, I still can make money every month because the place is so nice and people may want to get away from the cities they live in to go to a nicer, less secluded area. So that's how I'm thinking. And I think that'll work anytime. It's going to definitely work over the next few years, but over time it's going to work because now people are going to get used to things like they got used to during this pandemic, like working remote, going places that are a little further and less convenient to get to, but are nicer once you got there, right? So that's the kind of thinking you have to do as a business owner now. You have to say, okay, let me be objective about my business. Let me say, okay, what is a risk to my business and how can I mitigate it, right? So for me, I'll tell you some of my businesses that I think I have to rethink in a way, right? Mass ideation. Mass ideation is a technology business. We build apps, games, websites, virtual reality, augmented reality. And I rely heavily on advertising agencies, right? Advertising agencies give me most of my work. During this pandemic, though, I have gotten zero advertising agency work. But that doesn't mean I didn't get any work. I've gotten multiple projects during this time. But it didn't come from my normal source of funding, if you will. It came from doing stuff like this, actually. And that's part of why I'm doing this. This is a future-proof thing I'm doing right now. Creating content puts me, my companies, every company I'm involved in, my nonprofit, everything I do, it puts me in front of more people every day. So what happens when people think of, you know what, I need a project done? I just saw Miguel. Miguel does that. Let me call Miguel. And that has happened multiple times in this pandemic, right? So this is me. This content right now is me future-proofing everything I do. And now it's something that I'm so gung-ho about doing that nothing's going to stop me from doing it. And that's why I'm in a new location, because I was like, all right, my home environment is not conducive to me continuing doing this. So I need to test out other places to do this. So the first one I'm testing is my office, this office, but there's other offices I can test. But this one is one that's probably most convenient for me right now. So I'm testing this one. But now the time may not make sense because I have to have the work-life balance of helping my kids with homework and stuff like that. So 7 o'clock, where I have to go somewhere, do it, and then come back, may not work for that. So I'm thinking future-proof my businesses and my life, right? And then how can I start testing things that change that so I can see if they work? So this is one test. This week I did it every day at 7 o'clock. First 3 days, it was I had to threaten my children's lives to stay quiet while I do a live stream, and it didn't work. There's a lot of background noise. And then I realized I'm not going to really be able to do this at 7 o'clock going forward because there's going to be homework. There's going to be things that I can't do if I'm going live at 7 o'clock. So I said, okay, maybe I do 3 o'clock because I know around that time they are finishing school, but they are starting homework. But I'll do it somewhere else, so there's no issue, right? So this is where but I'm also, today I'm testing just the look, the internet, everything, the noise, right? But I'm not testing at the same time. But this is something you have to do as a business. You have to say, okay, what are my risks? What are the things I need to try? And let me try them, like remote, for instance. I was lucky enough to try remote 10 years ago. And I learned it and I mastered it. So now, when everybody was freaking out, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a breeze. We got this. I already had projects going in. I got more coming in. It was no problem, right? And in a way, people were even telling me, maybe you should be hired as a consultant to help people go remote. And I never pursued it. But the truth is, it is a huge thing that businesses have to do. You have to say, what is it in my business that's risk me going out of business? And how can I start to test things so that when that happens, I'm good, right? So we started out with working remote. Second, we said paying people remote. Third, we're saying, what is the risk factors to your business and how can you test things to stop them? And every business is going to be different. I just told you about mass ideation. I'll tell you about MetaBronx. Actually, MetaBronx is my nonprofit, right? We had, again, been talking about going remote for a while, right? So where I'm at now, this is the MetaBronx office. We had, every summer, we would have 40, 50 kids come in and work in multiple startups. There was multiple startups here, working with multiple young people from high school and college. But I always felt like that has a limitation. Let's figure out how to go online with this. But the problem was the DOE and the different partners, we didn't think, and we kind of knew they weren't going to want to do that, right? Because there's liability and there's all kind of things that they want the children or young people to be in an environment where they're being watched. So I said, we have to figure out a way to try it. So we started to kind of try it where there was sometimes where people were in the office and sometimes when they were not, based off a lot of my experience doing this for many, many years, right? And what happened? When the pandemic hit, I called my partner immediately, like, this is our chance. Right now, we're going to be able to get the biggest number we've ever got. And what ended up happening? We got the biggest number we ever got. We got to 350 young people over the summer, right? Because we were somewhat prepared and we had tested some things to make sure that when that time came, we were ready. We didn't know it was going to come. We didn't know the pandemic was going to hit. Nobody did. But we were ready, right? As a business, we were ready. So when you think about that, now every business that I'm involved in or approaches me for anything, that's the first step. Are you ready for this again? Because it could happen again. There could be a second wave, right? Every pandemic has multiple waves. We're still in the first wave technically. So what happens in the second wave? And I'm thinking about that for every single industry or business that I'm involved in or helping or working for, whatever it is, right? So when you think about that, right now you got a 6-month snapshot to show you what exactly you need to try to fix, right? If you went through things right now and you survived, you're lucky enough to survive. Now you have problems to solve, and they're all solvable. They're all solvable. And if you have one that you can't really think about how to solve it, definitely put it in the comment wherever you're seeing this, because there's definitely a technology somewhere that can help you do it. Another thing is, I feel like even within your business, you have to figure out how to diversify revenue streams, right? You can't only be like me. I couldn't be as reliant on advertising agency projects, right? Because I know the game. I know when when economies go down, advertising agencies in-house a lot of their work. So I have diversified my revenue streams by not only working with advertising agencies for a while, but not only that, right? I'm also trying to figure out how to build my own products, things that are not. So one of the major risk factors for my business, mass ideation, is I'm mostly a one-off type of business, meaning you come to me for a website, I build your website, and you go off and enjoy your website for the rest of its life, and that's it, right? I could offer support and I could offer these other things, but a lot of times I give the information to the company and they maintain it, right? But to me, I'm like, okay, mass ideation can't only be a one-off project thing, right? It has to find other streams of revenue. So I've been working on how I can do that, right? Through other things. And of course, I have to test them and see if they work. And I'll test them on clients. I'll test them on myself, on other companies that I'm involved in to see if they work. And then I'll offer them to the world, right? So that's how you have to really view your business. You have to say, okay, I just got a 6-month snapshot of what is problematic with my business and my industry in a pandemic. You got to use that and say, okay, here are the major things that if I figured it out, my business is good no matter what. So I was already telling you, communication was huge. There was companies going like nuts. So the fact that now everybody understands how to use these video platforms and have some type of chat engine that powers their business, that's been around for years. But now businesses had to use it. Payment, fast, easy payment. I don't even know. I still tell you, most companies haven't done that. They still haven't put that in place, at least from what I've seen. Then the third is the risk, right? And then fourth, I would say, is learning how to use online marketing. Because right now, you still can call people and do the same emailing, but everybody's home online. Like you literally, there's never been a better time to start figuring out online marketing. Like everybody is on a phone and a computer all day now. It's not as much as, hey, all right, I'm traveling to work. I'm at work, so I can't be on YouTube or Facebook because my boss is going to see. It's a different world. People are getting their work done and still doing that thing. That's that, on social media thing on their phone. That's an opportunity for your business to market there, to put content. And that's another reason why I'm doing this. That's why I did this. When I first realized, man, people are going to be home for the next, when I thought month is when I started. I was like, people are going to be around at home for the next month. I'm going to make a show every day. So I did. And then I started to see results, not in the show money. Of course, I'm not monetized on any platform yet, but on people reaching out to me and being like, hey, Miguel, I never even knew you did that. Can you do this? Yes, I can. All right, let's do it. And that brings opportunity. That's when you do personal brand content. Even me, I have not really mastered doing content for my own companies yet. But luckily, me doing content like this for my personal brand helps all the companies, every single one. I don't need to do as much individual content for each individual company as much as I just need to do this. Because by me doing this, people who know me for mass ideation, they come to me. People who know me for Meta Bronx come to me. People who know me for the other projects that I don't really talk about because I can't come to me, right? So that is another huge opportunity I really hope more entrepreneurs take advantage of. I know it's tough. It's a lot going on for me to do this, but it's so worth it. And people have asked me, do you make money from this show? Right now, no. 100% not. I don't make a dime anywhere this show is shown yet. But right now, I'm making hundreds of hours of content that one day will be monetized and will make money. But you have to be in it to win it. Like, so far I've created, in this pandemic, I've probably created almost 300 videos, right? I'm still not making money off of those specific videos being on the platforms, but I have made money from projects that have come to me, right? So, and it's easier to make content like this than to come up with, okay, what can I do for mass ideation that will make people care and watch? Here, I'm giving people value. I'm telling you as whoever's watching how to help your business get to the future, right? So you're going to watch that because it's a selfish act on your part to get the information. And I'm doing that on purpose. I'm giving you information that I know you don't care about mass ideation and this and that. You care about how to help your business, right? So I'm telling you how to do that. And now we're becoming closer. We're like friends now, right? So, right? So the idea is by giving information that helps your customer, you bring them in. So as a business, sometimes that's harder to do than as a human, right? Because you have to think, oh my God, what can I do? What can I do? Or what's on brand? What's not on brand? And even me, I have that same problem, right? For certain companies, but not if it's just me talking. If it's just me talking and I talk about mass ideation, I get a project, which has happened multiple times because I'm giving you value, all good, right? So that's the way I want to motivate you. I want you to create some type of show, some type of podcast, some type of content that you put out consistently so you stay out in front of your target audience. And I don't know what it is right now, and if you need help thinking about it, I'm definitely down to help you think about it. So whoever's watching this, first of all, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching as far as this so far. And then also I would say you need to be able to think future. Like, okay, we just went through this pandemic. How can I survive the next 2 years? What were the holes, the problems? How do I fill them? How do I make sure that if this happens again, I don't lose my business? Then you have to say, okay, what do I think is going to happen in the next 10 years? What is my industry look like in 10 years? And start to say, okay, how can I get out in front of that? So for me, it has been with all my businesses, all about artificial intelligence. Right now, I know artificial intelligence is not as ubiquitous as people think it is, but it's also very ubiquitous and most people don't know. I am pretty much an AI. Like all the things I use AI all day, every day. That's the only reason I could do all this stuff. If it wasn't for certain things that I have in place, I couldn't do most of the things I do. But I know about these technologies, so I do them. So I'm thinking, okay, what happens in 10 years when AIs are doing some of the projects that I get paid to do right now? What do I do as a business? So I'm diversifying and I'm thinking differently about what it is I go forward and do. And that's another reason why I create content. I create podcasts. I create different businesses, right? Because I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket and then be, killed by an industry change, right? Like, for instance, I did a talk in San Diego last year where I showed creative agencies that right now there's an AI. That was last year. There's an AI doing every one of your jobs. Right now. That was a year ago. Imagine. We just went through probably one of the fastest growth of automation creation ever. In the last 6 months, because of COVID and pandemic, people that had businesses said, okay, they did what I just told you. we can't be in this situation again. So how do we make sure that if humans can't come to work or can't work, our business still survives? And I've heard of multiple stories of companies that were X amount of employees become very little bit amount of employees because they automated a lot of those jobs away. And a lot of people think creative agencies, that's not going to happen for a creative agency. Yes, it is. It 100% is. And if I have an AI that can do the creative work for me for nothing, of course I invested in the AI, but you have to pay humans by the hour, very high rates. Who's going to win those contracts? I can literally charge almost nothing and make money versus you have to pay a human and make profit. It's almost no way to compete with that. So that's right now. Imagine in 10 years. So I'm thinking about this for every single idea and business that comes along for me, right? Because if you don't, it's on you, right? Because you didn't put yourself in a position to not die in the future, but excel in the future. There's another thing I'm working on right now, public speaking, right? I've been doing public speaking for a long time as another revenue stream I've been working on for years at this point. But right now I'm doing a talk based on you're either innovating or you're dying. And we just saw companies, like there's been a lot of companies that went out of business because they were not innovating. So slowly they were dying, right? Because if you're not innovating, you're dying, because when you get to the point where that innovation is needed and you didn't do it, like right now, for instance, where I'm sitting right now, Meta Bronx, if we were not innovating this summer, we made most of our money in the summer, right? So we were scheduled to have the most amount of kids ever in our program this summer. If we didn't innovate and go online, we probably would be out of business. Not even probably, definitely, because we can't sustain this office, this rent, the cost overall without having our biggest contract of the year, right? And this year it was bigger because we innovated, right? So in this thought process, you have to put yourself in a position, especially if you're an entrepreneur. And if you are an investor in the business, even more, you have to push your investments to be thinking this way, because if you want the return on that investment, you're going to want them to be ready for anything, right? And the better they are equipped for situations like this, the more your money's safe. So I think basically one way of making sure you're constantly thinking about how to make sure my company is not in a risk is to be the one thinking of the risk and coming up with lists. So something happened with one of the businesses I'm involved in this weekend. I'm going to try to figure out how to talk about it without talking about it. All right, so we had a scenario where there was... How can I talk about this without talking about it? There was a scenario that happened that we were not prepared for. And it could have been a huge opportunity for the business, or it could have been nothing. We dealt with it over the weekend. It turned out to be nothing. But while we were dealing with it and dealing with all the possible stresses of, man, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? What we did was we unearthed all of the possible holes in that scenario. It turned out to be nothing, but it was a godsend for that business because it put us in an environment for something that we were not prepared for. And luckily, what ended up happening was not as big as we thought it was, but it opened our eyes as the founders of this company to what we need to do right now. We've been doing it since. What holes we need to fill, because if that happens again, we could be, oh my God, exploded as a business. But we weren't prepared. And we saw it. We tried to scramble and be prepared, but we just weren't. We didn't even comprehend what was about to happen. So we couldn't think like that, right? But when it happened, now we know. And we said, all right, Now we see every possible hole. And by filling these holes, this makes the organization so much stronger, because if this can work in that environment, then it works in any environment. And that comes back to COVID, right? If your business can work, if you can create now after going through this 6-month horror show of a business environment, you can survive many, many things. So what I highly suggest you do, anybody who's watched this, go through and make a list of all the problems you saw as you dealt with the business challenges during the pandemic. And then what do? You say, all right, how can I solve them? First, by order of priority, which is the biggest problems, right? This is the biggest problem. How can I solve this? So if this happens again, I don't go out of business. And because I was lucky enough to stay in business this time, doesn't mean the next time I won't. I won't go out of business, right? So depends on what industry. If, like, again, like I said, if you're watching this and you don't know how to think about this stuff, I'm definitely willing. Just put it in the comments. I'll answer. I'll try to answer every comment based on what I believe you should be thinking. Because I do this all the time. People call me all the time and I answer. But I want to start making it my audience coming to me, and I'll start answering your questions, and eventually, people that are watching may be able to help you as well. So I think I'm going to end it here. It's been a good, solid amount of time us talking about this. And again, I thank you for anybody who's watched this far. Please like this video, subscribe to it wherever you've seen this. I think we are heading into a time of great, great innovation. And that's why I really want to push you as an entrepreneur to think innovatively, because it could be the life or death scenario for your business. And I also see things coming where people that are not thinking innovatively are going to just be slaughtered by companies that are, right? Like Amazon just slaughtered a lot of companies because they were thinking innovative and those companies weren't. So this is going to keep happening. You're going to keep seeing it. And if you don't do something about it while your business is doing well, it's going to be really hard to do something about it when your business is not doing well. So thank you for watching again. And I look forward to hearing from you about anything I said here. So thank you again. And what do we say? Innovate every day.